The deep hum of the starship engines vibrated through the metal floor as Dr. Maya Johnson stared out the viewport, stars streaked by in brilliant lines of light against the infinite darkness. Her reflection looked back at her from the reinforced glass, dark circles under determined eyes, her lab coat slightly wrinkled from the 18-hour shift she'd just completed. 10 years of education, 3 advanced degrees, and countless sleepless nights had brought her here, lead xenobiologist on humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Galactic Alliance Summit. Yet the weight of being the only black woman in her position made each achievement feel like it came with an asterisk. "Dr. Johnson, your samples are ready in Lab 3, her assistant mentioned through her earpiece. "Thanks, Eliza. I'll be there shortly," Maya replied, gathering her tablet and notes. As she walked through the corridor, she noticed the conversations that stopped when she entered rooms, the doubting glances from colleagues who'd had their positions handed to them through connections and privilege. Maya had learned to wear an armor of professionalism that concealed how much it still hurt. The Celestial Voyager was humanity's pride, a state-of-the-art vessel designed to impress the Galactic Alliance representatives. 6 alien species had sent delegates to observe humanity before voting on Earth's petition to join their interstellar community. The stakes couldn't be higher. Maya entered the crowded dining hall for a quick meal before returning to her lab work. The room buzzed with excited conversations about meeting actual aliens and the future trade possibilities. She took a seat alone at the corner table. As usual, the ship's screens displayed news from Earth. The face of Darius Whittaker, CEO of Horizon Technologies and primary investor in the mission, smiled confidently during an interview about his vision for humanity's future among the stars. His company only got the contract because his father plays golf with the president, someone nearby muttered. Maya allowed herself a small smile. At least she wasn't the only one who faced whispers about how she'd earned her place. The dining hall doors slid open, and conversations hushed. Maya looked up from her meal to see 4 alien ambassadors entering, accompanied by Captain Chen. The aliens stood nearly 7 feet tall, with smooth bluish skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on their elongated faces. "Ladies and gentlemen," Captain Chen announced, "please welcome representatives from the Nelvarian High Council, who will be observing our journey." People applauded politely, but Maya noticed the nervous energy in the room. Humanity was on display, being judged worthy or unworthy of joining the greater galactic community. As Maya finished her meal, the ship suddenly lurched sideways. Her tray clattered to the floor along with dozens of others. The lights flickered, then shifted to the red glow of emergency mode. "Attention all personnel." Captain Chen's voice came through the ship-wide communication system, strained but professional. "We have a Level 2 emergency in progress. Please remain calm and proceed to your designated safety stations." Maya's communication device buzzed with an urgent message from her lab. The screen displayed alarming data. Atmospheric readings showing unknown biological particles spreading through the ventilation system. Before she could fully process this information, the captain's voice returned, more urgent this time. "This is an emergency update. We have confirmed a containment breach in Research Lab 7. Unknown biological agent detected in multiple ship sectors. Is there a medical officer or xenobiologist in the main dining hall? Report to the command table immediately." Maya stood up, tablet in hand, already running preliminary analysis on the atmospheric data. She navigated through the now panicking crowd toward the command table where Captain Chen stood with the alien delegates. Before she could reach them, a loud, dismissive laugh cut through the chaos. The crowd parted to reveal Darius Whittaker himself, somehow aboard despite not being on the official passenger manifest. His expensive suit and perfectly styled hair seemed out of place amid the emergency. "Surely you don't mean her," Whittaker said loudly, pointing directly at Maya. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to them. "I've brought Dr. Harrison Thorne from my private research division. He's the best xenobiologist money can buy." A tall, smug-looking man stepped forward from behind Whittaker. "I'd prefer someone qualified," Whittaker continued, his voice carrying through the now silent hall. No offense, Dr. Johnson, but this situation requires the best, not diversity hires. The words hung in the air. Maya felt her face burn as countless eyes watched her reaction. She'd faced this kind of dismissal her entire career, but never so publicly, never with so much at stake. From the corner of her eye, Maya noticed the 4 Nelvarian ambassadors watching intently. In perfect synchronization, their 4 eyes narrowed, their expressions unreadable, but clearly registering this interaction. The biological agent alert on her tablet flashed red. Whatever had escaped was spreading rapidly through the ship. There was no time for this power play. "Captain," Maya said, her voice steady despite the rage and humiliation burning inside her, "I have the preliminary analysis of the pathogen, and I know exactly what we're dealing with." The quarantine bay's doors hissed open as Maya rushed in, carrying her sample kit. What had been an organized medical facility just hours earlier now resembled a field hospital during disaster. Every bed was filled, and makeshift cots lined the walls. Medical staff moved frantically between patients, human and alien alike, their faces hidden behind protective masks. The air smelled of antiseptic and fear. The digital counter on the wall showed the numbers of infected: 42 humans, 7 aliens, and climbing. Maya set up her portable analysis equipment at an empty workstation. Her hands moved with practiced precision, despite the chaos around her. As she prepared slides with blood samples from different patients, she felt someone hovering behind her, watching her every move. "How long will this take?" Darius Whittaker demanded, his expensive shoes clicking on the floor as he paced. He'd somehow acquired a protective suit that looked more advanced than those worn by the medical staff. "We have a schedule to maintain." "Science doesn't follow schedules, Mr. Whittaker," Maya replied without looking up from her microscope, "especially when dealing with an unknown pathogen." "This is exactly why I brought in my own experts," he said, gesturing toward Dr. Thorne, who was across the room speaking with the ship's medical director. "Don't waste our limited resources. Real doctors are on the way from Earth." Maya took a deep breath, focusing on the sample under her microscope rather than responding to the insult. The cellular structures she observed were unlike anything in the standard medical database, yet something about them seemed familiar. "Move. Medical emergency," a voice shouted. Maya looked up to see 2 crew members rushing in with a stretcher. On it lay one of the Nelvarian diplomats, his blue skin now turning a sickly gray. His 4 eyes were half closed, and his breathing came in ragged gasps. "Put him here," Maya said, clearing her workstation. "His physiology is different from humans. The standard treatments could harm him." The crew members hesitated, looking toward Dr. Thorne for confirmation. The delay lasted only seconds, but it was enough to anchor Maya. "Now," she commanded with such authority that they immediately complied. The alien diplomat's condition was deteriorating rapidly. Maya connected monitoring equipment calibrated for Nelvarian physiology, equipment she had helped design, and began checking his vital signs. "His blood oxygen levels are critical," she said to the nearest medical assistant. "Get me the xenobiological support kit from storage room B." The diplomat suddenly seized, his long limbs trembling. He collapsed at Maya's feet. She knelt beside him, checking the readings on her scanner. "Everyone back," she ordered, reaching for a hypo spray in her medical kit. "What do you think you're doing?" Whittaker stepped between her and the medical supply cabinet. "You can't experiment on a diplomatic representative." Maya stood her ground. "I'm not experimenting. I recognize this pattern of symptoms. It's similar to a terrestrial disease I studied during my research in the Amazon rainforest, a disease that was thought extinct but shares molecular markers with this pathogen." She tried to move past him to retrieve the medication she needed, but Whittaker blocked her path. "Know your place, Dr. Johnson," he said quietly, his voice carrying just far enough for nearby staff to hear. "You're here as a formality. Let the real experts handle this crisis." The room had gone quiet, all eyes on the confrontation. Even patients who were conscious watched the power struggle unfold. "Mr. Whitaker," Maya said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "that diplomat will die in approximately 7 minutes without treatment. The cure requires someone who understands both human and alien biology, my exact specialty. Now move aside." From the doorway came a low, resonant voice. "We are most interested in your assessment, Dr. Johnson." 3 more Nelvarian diplomats stood there, their formal robes replaced by simple garments, yet their authority unmistakable. The one who had spoken stepped forward, towering over both Maya and Whitaker. "Our colleague's life is in your hands," the alien continued, ignoring Whitaker completely. "Please proceed." Whitaker's face flushed red, but he stepped aside, unwilling to directly challenge the aliens. Maya moved quickly now, preparing the treatment she believed would work. As she administered it to the fallen diplomat, she explained her reasoning to the medical team, teaching even as she worked to save a life. "The pathogen attacks oxygen-carrying cells, but does so differently in different species," she said. "For humans, it targets hemoglobin. For Nelvarians, it attacks their copper-based blood compound. The treatment needs to be calibrated for each physiology." The diplomat's breathing began to stabilize. One of his eyes opened, then another, focusing gradually on Maya's face. Behind her, 2 of the observing Nelvarians conversed quietly in their native language, not realizing that Maya's translator could pick up their words. "Is this how humans treat their best minds?" one asked, mandibles clicking softly in disapproval. "Perhaps their hierarchy is not based on intellect as we assumed," the other replied. "Watch carefully. This interaction reveals much about their true nature as a species." Maya pretended not to hear as she continued working, aware that much more than one life hung in the balance. The fate of Earth's application to the Galactic Alliance, and with it, humanity's future among the stars, might well depend on what happened in this quarantine bay in the next few hours. The ship's corridors were dimly lit during night cycle, the emergency lights casting long shadows along the walls. Maya checked her tablet. 2:34 ship time. Most crew members were asleep except for essential personnel. The hallway to Lab 3 stretched before her, empty and quiet. Maya pressed her palm against the lab door's security scanner. The computer's voice came softly. "Access denied. Laboratory facilities closed during emergency protocols." She exhaled slowly. Of course, Whitaker would have restricted her access. She pulled out her tablet and connected it to the security panel. 5 years working on underfunded research stations had taught her more than just biology. Sometimes you had to fix your own equipment when no help was coming. 3 minutes later, the door slid open. The lab was dark except for the glow of monitoring equipment. Maya turned on a single workstation light, careful not to illuminate the entire room and attract attention. She laid out her notes and samples, then got to work. "Computer, display microscopic analysis of sample A7, she whispered. The screen filled with images of the pathogen attacking both human and Nelvarian blood cells. As she worked, Maya remembered sitting at her grandmother's kitchen table as a child, struggling with homework while neighborhood kids played outside. "Why do I have to work twice as hard as everyone else?" she had asked. Her grandmother's weathered hands had stilled on the dough she was kneading. "Because they'll never make it easy for you," she'd said. "So make it look easy. Your brilliance isn't just a gift. It's your armor and your weapon." Maya smiled at the memory as her fingers flew across the screens, testing combinations and running simulations. She was in her element now, the politics temporarily forgotten as the puzzle consumed her attention. 4 hours later, she stared at the results of her latest trial. The pathogen in the sample was breaking down, unable to attack the blood cells protected by her experimental treatment. She checked and rechecked her work, hardly daring to believe she'd found the solution. "This could work," she whispered to herself, quickly preparing several doses of the treatment. She packaged them carefully in her medical kit, just as the morning cycle lights began to brighten. Maya slipped out of the lab and hurried toward the quarantine bay. More patients had arrived overnight. The infection was spreading faster than the medical team could contain it. Crew members with haunted eyes nodded to her as she passed. Everyone knew the situation was becoming desperate. When she reached the quarantine bay, Dr. Thorne was arguing with two medical assistants, his face flushed with frustration. "Told you the standard protocols won't work. The captain wants results, not excuses." Beyond him, Maya could see the original Nelvarian diplomat. His condition had deteriorated dramatically, skin now a pale gray, breathing shallow and irregular. According to her calculations, he had perhaps 3 hours left. She approached the group, medical kit clutched tightly. "I have something that might help," she said. Dr. Thorne turned, surprise quickly replaced by suspicion. "Where did you get that?" "All medical supplies are to be routed through official channels. I developed it overnight," Maya explained, opening her kit to show the treatments. "It's a targeted molecular compound that protects blood cells from the pathogen, while simultaneously—" "You did what?" Whittaker's voice cut through the room as he emerged from the captain's office. He strode toward her, anger radiating from every step. "You developed an unauthorized treatment. In my facilities." Maya stood her ground. "The official channels weren't working. This will." "This is my ship," Whittaker said, his voice dangerously quiet. "I won't let you experiment on our guests with some homemade remedy. Do you have any idea what's at stake here?" "I know exactly what's at stake," Maya replied. "Lives, human and alien alike." "Dr. Johnson," Captain Chen interjected, "while I appreciate your initiative, we must follow protocols." "Your protocols are killing my colleague," came a deep, resonant voice. Everyone turned to see a tall Nelvarian standing in the doorway. Unlike the others, this one wore elaborate markings on his face and arms, intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer under the quarantine bay lights. The alien stepped forward, and the humans instinctively backed away to make room. Even Whittaker seemed momentarily cowed by the alien's presence. "I am Zorthal, senior observer of the Galactic Council," the Nelvarian announced. With deliberate movements, he pulled back his sleeve to reveal a complex biomechanical device embedded in his forearm. It glowed with symbols that matched those on his face. Maya recognized the markings from her xenopolitical studies. This was no ordinary diplomat. This was one of the highest-ranking members of the Galactic Alliance's governing body. "We have been monitoring your response to this crisis," Zorthal continued. "It is most educational." His four eyes turned to Maya, studying her with unnerving intensity. "Your species has curious ways of allocating authority, Dr. Johnson. On my world, those who save lives command more respect than those who merely accumulate wealth." Whittaker's face reddened, but before he could speak, Zorthal continued. "I have reviewed your work while you conducted it," the alien said, gesturing to his arm device. "Your approach is sound. Your understanding of cross-species biology is impressive." He turned to face Whittaker directly. "You may claim ownership of this vessel, human, but I claim authority over my people. And I say this." The scientist proceeds with her treatment. The quarantine bay fell silent. The medical staff watched, waiting to see how power would shift. Zorthal's voice softened as he addressed Maya once more. "Proceed, Dr. Johnson. Show us what humanity's best minds can accomplish when given the freedom to work." Maya nodded, suddenly aware that she was at the center of a moment that might well determine humanity's place among the stars. With steady hands, she prepared the first dose of her treatment for the dying Nelvarian diplomat. The main quarantine bay had transformed overnight. Where once moans of pain and labored breathing filled the air, now patients sat up in their beds, talking with medical staff or fellow survivors. The Nelvarian diplomat, who had been hours from death, now stood beside his bed, conversing with Captain Chen. Maya moved from patient to patient, checking vital signs and making notes. Dark circles shadowed her eyes from working 36 hours straight, but satisfaction kept her going. Her treatment was working. "Quite the miracle worker, aren't you, Dr. Johnson?" Whitaker's voice carried across the room as he entered with a group of officials and media personnel. Camera drones hovered behind them, capturing footage of the recovery. Maya didn't respond, focusing instead on adjusting the medication for a human patient whose fever was still too high. She got lucky, Whitaker announced to the assembled media. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best. Of course, Horizon Technologies' advanced research facilities made this breakthrough possible. We've always believed in supporting diverse talent. The irony of his statement wasn't lost on the medical staff who had witnessed his earlier behavior. A few exchanged glances, but remained silent. "Mr. Whitaker," a reporter asked, "will this treatment be made available to all colonies facing similar outbreaks?" "After proper testing and refinement by our main research team, absolutely," Whitaker replied smoothly. "Dr. Johnson's preliminary work has given us a good starting point." Maya bit her tongue. This wasn't the time or place to correct him. The patients were what mattered. A commotion at the entrance drew everyone's attention. Two crew members rushed in supporting a new patient, a Krelvian trader whose tentacled limbs dragged limply along the floor. Its breathing sacs inflated and deflated rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. "Another species infected," Dr. Thorne muttered. "Apply the standard treatment protocol immediately." Maya hurried over, scanner in hand. "Wait. Krelvian physiology is fundamentally different. Their blood chemistry uses silicon instead of iron or copper. The standard treatment cold." The Krelvian convulsed violently as the nurse administered the medication. Its skin darkened from pale green to almost black. "It's having an allergic reaction," Maya shouted, reaching for the emergency counter-treatment in her kit. "Get me a ventilation assist unit." Medical alarms blared throughout the bay. As Maya and two nurses fought to stabilize the Krelvian, more emergency cases arrived. 2 Valaxians and a Terathi ambassador, all showing different symptoms of the infection. "What's happening?" Captain Chen demanded, pushing through the crowd. "The pathogen is mutating," Maya explained, dividing her attention between the critical Krelvian and her scanner readings. "Each species is affected differently now. The base treatment needs to be specifically adapted for each physiological type." Panic spread through the quarantine bay as the initial sense of victory evaporated. Recovered patients watched in fear, wondering if they too might relapse. Whitaker stepped forward, the camera drones still recording. Everyone remained calm. "The situation is under control, as I was telling the Galaxy News Network before this interruption." "Enough." Maya's voice cut through the chaos like a laser. The room froze. Patients, medical staff, officials, and media all turned to stare at her. Maya stood in the center of the bay, data tablet clutched to her chest, her lab coat stained with the various bodily fluids of 3 different species. Her voice shook not with fear, but with a cold fury that had been building for years. "People are dying while you play politics, Mr. Whitaker. Actual living beings, human and alien alike." She held up her tablet, displaying complex molecular structures. "This isn't about who gets credit or how it looks on camera. This is about saving lives." She turned to the medical staff. "The treatment needs to be modified for each species. I need 3 teams working simultaneously. Team 1, focus on silicon-based life forms. Team 2, handle the copper-based species. Team 3, work on the iron-based variations." The medical staff immediately began organizing themselves according to her instructions, ignoring Whitaker completely. "Now wait just a minute," Whitaker spluttered. "I'm in charge of this mission, and I—" "No, you're not," Zorthel said, stepping forward from where he had been observing. "Not in this matter." The senior Galactic Council member turned to Maya. "Proceed, Doctor. What resources do you require?" Maya didn't hesitate. "Full access to all medical facilities, priority use of the ship's quantum computers for molecular modeling, and authority to reassign personnel as needed for the next 12 hours. "Granted," Captain Chen said before Whitaker could object. Maya nodded and immediately began directing the teams. Dr. Thorne, your expertise in Valaxian biology would be valuable with Team 2. Lieutenant Park, please coordinate with ship security to establish a secondary containment area for new cases. The quarantine bay transformed into a hive of purposeful activity. Maya moved between stations, checking formulations, suggesting adjustments, encouraging the exhausted staff. The Galactic Council representatives watched it all, their 4 eyes missing nothing. One leaned toward Zorthal and spoke softly in their native language. The human female shows remarkable leadership under pressure. Indeed, Zorthal replied. She exhibits the qualities we seek in potential alliance members: adaptation, cooperation, respect for different forms of life. And the male who attempted to claim authority. Zorthal's upper eyes narrowed slightly. He represents an older pattern of human behavior, one that, according to our historical analysis, tends to self-correct over time. Through individuals like her. Precisely. Zorthal watched as Maya demonstrated to a junior medical officer how to calibrate a treatment for Terethi physiology. Such individuals change the course of their species, often without realizing the full impact of their actions. Should we intervene further? Zorthal considered the question as he observed Maya standing her ground against years of prejudice and dismissal, her brilliance finally demanding to be heard. No, he decided. Let us see how humanity resolves this internal conflict. Their response will tell us everything we need to know about their readiness to join the wider galactic community. The world faded in and out as Maya adjusted the final treatment dose for the young Terethiade. 72 hours without sleep had taken its toll. Her hands shook slightly as she administered the medication, watching as the alien's breathing steadied. The monitor showed vital signs stabilizing. The last patient on her list. That's everyone, she whispered to herself. The quarantine bay, once filled with the sounds of suffering, had grown quieter hour by hour as patients recovered and were released. The crisis that had threatened both the mission and interspecies relations was finally ending. Maya took a step back from the bed, intending to check her notes one last time. The floor seemed to tilt beneath her feet. The tablet slipped from her fingers, clattering against the deck. She reached for the edge of the bed to steady herself, but her legs gave way. "Dr. Johnson," someone called out, the voice distant and echoey. The ceiling spun above her. Dark spots clouded her vision. The last thing Maya saw before consciousness slipped away was Dr. Thorne's concerned face as he rushed toward her. Maya dreamed of stars, not the cold, distant points of light visible from Earth, but vibrant, living entities that spoke to her in voices that reminded her of her grandmother. "You've done well," they seemed to say. "Rest now." The gentle hiss of a medical scanner pulled her back to reality. Maya opened her eyes to find herself lying in a recovery bed, an IV drip connected to her arm. Dr. Thorne stood beside her, checking her vitals. "Welcome back," he said, his usual haughtiness replaced by what appeared to be genuine respect. "You've been out for nearly 15 hours. Maya tried to sit up but felt lightheaded. "The patients, all stable and recovering," Thorne assured her. "Your treatments work for every species. The pathogen has been contained." He paused, seeming to struggle with his next words. "Your work was exceptional. I've never seen anything like it." Before Maya could respond, Captain Chen entered the medical bay. "Dr. Johnson, good to see you awake. When you feel able, your presence is requested in the main gallery. The Galactic Council wishes to address the crew." "Now?" Maya asked, glancing down at her wrinkled uniform. "Don't worry about formalities," Chen said with a small smile. "I think you've earned some leeway." 30 minutes later, Maya walked slowly toward the ship's gallery, still feeling the effects of her exhaustion. Dr. Thorne accompanied her, occasionally offering a steadying hand when she faltered. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly as they approached the gallery doors. "I made assumptions about your qualifications that were unfounded." Maya nodded, too tired for grudges. "We all have prejudices to overcome, Dr. Thorne. The important thing is recognizing them." The doors slid open to reveal a transformed space. The utilitarian dining hall had been rearranged into a formal gathering area. The entire crew stood at attention in neat rows. At the far end, on a raised platform, stood the alien delegation in ceremonial attire that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. As Maya entered, a hush fell over the room. Then, to her surprise, the crew began to applaud. The sound grew until it filled the space, crew members smiling and nodding in her direction. Captain Chen guided her toward the front, where Zorthal and the other council members waited. In the corner of the room, partially hidden behind a group of officers, stood Darius Whitaker. His usual confident posture was gone, replaced by a stiff discomfort as he avoided meeting anyone's eyes. Dr. Maya Johnson. Zorthal's voice resonated through the gallery as the applause died down. Please step forward. Maya approached the raised platform, aware of hundreds of eyes following her movement. The Galactic Council came to this vessel with a purpose beyond diplomatic exchange, Zorthal announced. We came to observe if humans were ready to join the Galactic Alliance, if your species had evolved beyond its historical divisions to embrace a truly cooperative future. Murmurs spread through the crowd as crew members realized the true significance of the mission they'd been part of. During our time aboard, we witnessed prejudice, yes, Zorthal continued, his four eyes briefly shifting toward Whitaker's direction. We saw power used to silence knowledge, wealth valued over wisdom, and arbitrary hierarchies based on appearance rather than ability. The gallery grew uncomfortably quiet. But, Zorthal's voice softened, we also witnessed extraordinary courage and compassion. We saw brilliance that refused to be dimmed by obstacles. We observed the best qualities your species has to offer. The Nelvarian turned to face Whitaker directly. Human. Approach. Whitaker hesitated, then slowly walked forward until he stood beside Maya. Your internal divisions make you weak, Zorthal told him. Your dismissal of valuable minds, because they do not resemble your own, is a liability your species cannot afford in the greater galaxy. Whitaker stared at the floor, his face flushed. But her ability to overcome these artificial barriers, Zorthal continued, looking at Maya, makes your species strong. It demonstrates an adaptability and resilience the Alliance values. The Nelvarian reached beneath his ceremonial robes and withdrew a small crystalline object that glowed with inner light. He held it out to Maya. Earth's seat on the Galactic Council awaits. Dr. Johnson. Not for those with wealth or political power, but for those who use knowledge to heal divisions, both within and beyond your world. Maya stared at the crystal, understanding its significance from her xenopolitical studies. It was a council key, a symbol of membership in the galaxy's governing body. I'm just a scientist, she said quietly. Precisely, Zorthal replied. All four of his eyes crinkled in what Maya recognized as the Nelvarian equivalent of a smile. In our experience across 12 galaxies and 10,000 years of observation, it is rarely warriors or merchants or politicians who truly advance a species. It is those who seek to understand, to heal, and to bring together that create civilizations worthy of joining our alliance. As Maya accepted the crystal, feeling its warm pulse against her palm, she thought of her grandmother's kitchen, of long nights studying while others played, of every dismissive glance and undermining comment she had endured. They'll never make it easy, her grandmother had said. So make it look easy. And somehow, without intending to, she had changed humanity's future among the stars.